Welcome to my channel. Today, I'm here with a story that many of you have requested, a thrilling mafia love story set in the heart of Italy. Get ready for romance, mystery, and plenty of twists and turns. Let's begin the story. Giulia Moretti was an ordinary girl living an extraordinary life in the beautiful city of Florence, Italy. Her days were filled with the vibrant colors of her art, the comforting routines of her small but bustling neighborhood, and the simple pleasures of her family and friends. Giulia's life was like a picturesque painting, serene, beautiful, and seemingly untouched by the chaos of the outside world. She spent most of her time in her cozy art studio, a converted attic space filled with the scent of oil paints and turpentine. The walls were adorned with her creations, landscapes of the rolling Tuscan hills, portraits of local villagers, and abstract pieces that captured her innermost thoughts and feelings. Giulia was content, her heart at peace as she poured her soul onto the canvas. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the ancient city, Giulia decided to take a stroll. She loved these evening walks, where she could lose herself in the narrow, winding streets and absorb the rich history that seemed to seep from every cobblestone. She wandered aimlessly, letting her feet guide her through the maze of alleyways. As she turned a corner, she was jolted from her reverie by a soft groan. She stopped, her heart pounding in her chest, and peered into the shadows. There, lying on the ground, was a man, his clothes soaked in blood. Panic surged through her veins, but she forced herself to stay calm. Taking a deep breath, she approached him cautiously. "Are you all right?" she asked, her voice trembling. The man's eyes flickered open, revealing a striking shade of green that seemed to pierce through the darkness. "Help me," he whispered, his voice weak. Giulia's heart ached at the sight of his pain. She fumbled for her phone and called for an ambulance, her hands shaking as she relayed their location. While they waited, Giulia knelt beside him, pressing her scarf against his wound to stem the bleeding. "Hang on," she urged, her voice steady, despite the fear gnawing at her insides. "Help is on the way." The man's eyes fluttered closed, and for a moment, Giulia feared he was slipping away. But then, he grasped her hand, his grip surprisingly strong. "Thank you," he murmured before losing consciousness. The ambulance arrived, and the paramedics swiftly took over. Giulia watched as they loaded the man onto a stretcher, her mind swirling with questions. Who was he? What had happened to him? And why did she feel an inexplicable connection to this stranger? The next day, Giulia couldn't shake the image of those piercing green eyes from her mind. She went about her routine, but everything felt different. The vibrant colors of her studio seemed muted, the comforting routines felt hollow. She knew she needed answers. Later that afternoon, as she was preparing to close her studio, there was a knock on the door. Giulia opened it to find a tall, imposing man with dark hair and an air of authority. He introduced himself as Marco, the brother of the man she had saved. "Thank you for helping my brother," Marco said, his tone sincere but tinged with a warning. "His name is Luca. He's very grateful, but I must advise you to stay away from our family. We're involved in things that are best kept at a distance." Giulia's curiosity was piqued. "What kind of things?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Marco's expression hardened. "Dangerous things. For your own safety, it's best if you forget about Luca and move on with your life." But forgetting Luca was impossible. As the days turned into weeks, Giulia found herself drawn back to the alleyway where she had found him. She wandered those streets, hoping to catch a glimpse of him, yearning to understand the mystery that surrounded him. One evening, as she stood in that same alley, she heard a familiar voice. "You shouldn't be here." She turned to see Luca, looking pale but alive. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Giulia knew her life would never be the same. Thank you for joining me on this thrilling journey through the world of love and danger. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more parts of this story. Until next time, keep dreaming and stay curious.